Alright, so that concludes the rigging section. Generally what you want to do at this point is do a range of motion test, which is always good to do. But what we want to do next is actually organize the files a little bit better. It's fairly cluttered over here, but you do want to go through and make sure all your pieces work properly and that everything's ready to animate, because that's the part where that's next. Alright, so looking pretty good, but let's go ahead and do some organization. So I like to start this part by, I'm not going to touch the mannequin per se, just because it's meant for the Unreal mannequin and it may mess something up, but everything else, like all this stuff, could easily be grouped into, into groups. We may be able to get away with organizing these as well, so we should probably do that. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to not click anything. I'm going to click off here, and I'm going to hit Control G, and what that does is it creates an empty group. Right, so we're going to make a few of these. I do want a global scale, right? So so sk underscore mannequin, underscore global scale. I usually put a 0, 1. The prefix of all of this stuff is going to start with sk mannequin, just because that's the name of our character. So this is everything's going to group inside of this. Okay, now I'm going to put some joints, so I'm going to have a joints column. And again, I think we can get away with putting everything inside here, so it should be fine. I do want to make a folder for IK stuff, so I'm going to paste that in there, and I'm going to say IK 0, 1. We need something for the control objects. So Control G, and I'm going to say control objects. Now we do have LODs, but I think we'll just keep it in that group and leave it there. Then we're going to have one for geometry. And anything extra, don't think we have much for extra stuff, but if we do, we'll just make an extras. So anything else we have in here, we can add it to that group there. So that should be fine. So let's organize this a bit further. I'm going to grab all of this stuff, including geometry, controls, maybe not geometry, everything else I'm going to put into this global scale group. Then I'm going to make another group, and this is my global control group. And we'll do one more. Oops. And this one here is just going to be the main group. So that's where everything's basically contained. So I'm going to put the scale group inside the global group, and the global group can be inside the main group. Let's put this up a little higher. So that looks pretty good. And these two things will just go inside the main group there. And generally what I like to do is organize everything into these groups. So let's put this up higher on the list. There it is there. And we can start organizing this. So we got our IK handles. This is the L underscore leg IK 0, 1. And we got the R underscore IK leg 0, 1. And then we got our hands as well. So I'm going to grab all these and just throw them into our IK group. We got our hand group. These are actually controllers. We got our foot group, also controllers. So all of this stuff is essentially controllers. So I'm going to just select everything, middle click and drag, and drop it into control objects. Much nicer already. Now, we got two main groups here, so we can probably splice this out. Before I do that though, I am going to save a new copy just in case we have to revert back. But this should definitely work. Okay, so I'm going to take the root and I'm going to throw that into the joints section. Then I'm going to take the LOD group, which includes our main mesh there, and I'm going to throw this all into geometry right there. And with that, I think we could just delete. I'll hide it instead, just for now. And so that just organizes everything so it's nice and clean, and that it's well organized. So with that, that wraps up our cleanup lecture. Next, we're going to be taking everything and starting our animation. We're going to do a few animations with this character. Okay, thanks guys.
So one quick thing I wanted to add is a controller node, a master node for everything before we start animating. So I'm going to go to curves and choose the circle. Scale that up, and in the inputs I'm going to switch the degrees to linear, and that should be fine. I'm going to call this now master underscore CTRL 01, and I can even put the prefix mannequin. Now this is going to be the parent to a lot of this content. Okay, so let's freeze this out. I'm going to go modify, freeze transformations, of course delete the history. So I want it to be the parent of the root. Okay, so I'm going to grab the root, hold shift, grab the master. So now the bones will move. Now I also have to make it the parent of the controllers. So I'm going to grab the hips controller, hold shift, grab the master. So that'll follow. It's got to be the parent of the pull vectors. Looks like I hid the other vectors, so I'm just going to unhide those, shift H. So I want to grab all 4 pull vectors, make it a child of that controller. Same with the hand and the foot controls. So grab the master controller last, press P. Now it looks like everything's in order. Let's just double check that it scales. Alright, it looks great. Now sometimes if you don't have these as the parenting object, sometimes you need to put the IK handle in there too, but because we have an IK handle group that's a child of global scale, it's going to work naturally. So I'm going to take this controller and I'm going to middle mouse click and drop that into control objects. Give it a quick scale. Okay. And I'm going to quickly change the color.